When we think of defense, our minds conjure images of stone and steel. We think defense is walls, formidable barriers rising from the earth to declare, "You shall not pass." We imagine the satisfying click of heavy iron locks, the intricate mechanics of security made tangible. We hear the sudden, heart-stopping clang of alarms, designed to shatter the quiet and expose the intruder. These are the physical manifestations of safety, the objects we have built for centuries to protect ourselves from the world outside. They are comforting in their solidity, in their clear and unambiguous purpose. They represent a straightforward equation: stronger materials, thicker gates, higher towers, equal greater security. But this is only the most superficial layer of protection, the visible armor that conceals a far more complex and subtle form of defense. The strongest shields in history were never forged from metal or built from stone. They were patterns, intricate, deliberate, and often invisible habits woven into the very fabric of daily life. These were routines and disciplines that controlled the most valuable resource of all: information. They were designed not just to stop a physical threat at the gate, but to prevent an adversary from ever knowing where the gate is, when it is unguarded, or if it is even worth attacking at all. The true art of security has always been about shaping perception, about managing what others could learn before they ever became a direct threat. Ultimately, all defense is information management. Every action, every choice, every deviation from the norm sends a signal into the world. An open gate signals passage. A lit window signals presence. A column of smoke signals a hearth and, by extension, life. An attacker, a predator, an observer of any kind is fundamentally a collector of these signals. They are piecing together a mosaic of data points to build a picture of your world, your resources, your vulnerabilities, your intentions. The critical question, then, is not just how you block an attack, but how you control the information that invites one. What does your life signal to a watching eye? And more importantly, how do you consciously and deliberately shape that signal? This is the foundational principle of historical security, a discipline practiced not just by armies and spies, but by farmers, merchants, and common people living in uncertain times. It begins with the most fundamental rhythm of existence, the one that governs all life on Earth. You must start with day and night. Physics sets the clock for all of us. It is an unchangeable reality. Light reveals, and darkness conceals. In the daylight, the world is a canvas of detail. An observer can discern movement, identify individuals, count livestock, and map the layout of a settlement from a safe distance. The defender is exposed, their activities laid bare by the sun. But the night offers a different strategic landscape. For defenders, night is both cloak and trap. It is a cloak because it hides them from distant eyes, shrouding their movements and preparations in a veil of obscurity. But it is also a trap, because any light they create to pierce their own darkness becomes a beacon for everyone else. A single flame can be seen for miles in an otherwise blacked-out world, betraying a location with pinpoint accuracy. This fundamental duality, the need for light to live and work, and the need for darkness to remain unseen, gave rise to one of the most ancient and critical security practices. Enter light discipline, the ancient art of controlling your glow. Picture a lone farmhouse in a contested valley, a place where bandits or raiding parties are a known threat. By day, the family works their land, visible to anyone watching from the surrounding hills. But as dusk falls, the strategic calculus changes. If they light a candle and place it near a window, that one bright window becomes a beacon. It does more than just reveal their location. It offers a wealth of tactical data. It tells an observer not only that the house is occupied, but precisely which room is in use. It ruins the night vision of anyone inside looking out, blinding them to the very threats creeping through the darkness they have just illuminated. Worse, it creates perfect, high-contrast targets, silhouetting the people inside. Every person who passes in front of that window becomes a shadow puppet, their numbers and movements broadcast to the enemy. An observer can learn the family's evening routine, count the inhabitants, and even guess at their state of alertness, all from the simple, careless act of lighting a room. The solution was a rigorous, ingrained discipline. To read sensitive documents, diaries, orders, field notes, one did not sit by an open window. The first step was always to secure the perimeter of light. Shutters were closed and barred. Heavy blackout curtains, a practice perfected in the cities of wartime Europe, were drawn tight. Hearths and fires, essential for warmth and cooking, were pulled deep into the rooms, positioned away from any direct line of sight to the outside. Candles were shielded, placed inside lanterns with tin reflectors that directed the glow inward, onto a book or a workspace, while casting the rest of the room into shadow. In more extreme situations, especially for military outposts or those in active conflict zones, light pits were dug into the floor, small, deep holes where a flame could be contained, its glow swallowed by the earth around it, invisible to anyone not standing directly over it. The goal was never about hiding in pitch black. That was impractical. The goal was mastering emissions, carefully curating every photon of light to ensure that observers, whether a mile away or 10 feet from the wall, get less data. It was about creating a functional interior space that remained an informational void to the outside world. This pattern of emission control repeats across history, adapted for every sense. Consider sound discipline. In a quiet landscape, the metallic click of a door latch or the clang of a dropped tool can travel hundreds of yards. To counter this, doors were cushioned with strips of leather or cloth to muffle the sound of their closing. Tools, especially those used for sentry duty or night patrols, were wrapped in cloth to prevent them from rattling against each other. Work was deliberately shifted to windy hours, or during rainfall, when the ambient noise of the environment would mask the sounds of human activity, blending the signal into the noise. Then there was smoke discipline. A thick plume of smoke is a clear sign of life, visible for miles. To minimize this, defenders used specific techniques. They built low, hot fires with dry, seasoned wood that burned more completely and produced less smoke. They mastered the use of dampers in their stoves and hearths to precisely control airflow, ensuring an efficient burn. Critically, cooking was often timed to coincide with natural camouflage. The early morning, when fog and morning inversion layers would trap and disperse smoke near the ground, making the plume indistinguishable from the mist. And perhaps most crucial was movement discipline. The human eye is exceptionally good at detecting motion, especially in a static landscape. To travel across open ground was to make oneself a target. The disciplined traveler learned to think in terms of concealment, not speed. They practiced travel at the edges of spaces, hugging tree lines, following the dark paths of hedgerows, or moving within the long shadow bands cast by hills or clouds. The principle was to constantly break the line of sight between oneself and any potential observer. This meant moving from one patch of cover to the next, pausing to scan, and then proceeding. It was a slower, more methodical way to travel, prioritizing invisibility over velocity. The goal was not to run faster than a pursuer, but to move in such a way that a pursuer would never see you in the first place. It was about understanding the landscape not as a set of distances to be crossed, but as a texture of visibility and obscurity to be navigated. But beyond these physical disciplines lay an even subtler layer of security, the manipulation of routine. Predictability can be a vulnerability, but it can also be a powerful defensive tool. A consistent, unwavering rhythm creates a baseline of normalcy. The regular tolling of medieval watch bells throughout the night did more than mark the time. It was a constant broadcast that the watch was alert and all was well. The predictable sweep of lighthouse flashes provided a navigational aid to friendly ships while also signaling that the coast was guarded and operational. The strict timing of military convoy schedules, while seemingly risky, created a rhythm that, if broken, would immediately signal a problem. An early or late convoy was an instant anomaly, a red flag for commanders to investigate. The ubiquitous blackout curtains in wartime cities were not just about hiding light. They were a collective, public ritual of defense, a rhythm that visually unified the population in a state of readiness. These were all rhythms that said, "We're here, we're ready. But their true power was revealed when they were altered. A missed bell toll, an erratic lighthouse beam, a deviation from schedule. These were the signals that mattered. They were the deliberate tripwires in the pattern, the moments that communicated, something's different, pay attention. This is the essence of advanced security. To build a world so predictable that the slightest deviation screams of danger.